Hello my dear friend, this is Amet TV. Please subscribe, share, like, and comment. Now we are focusing on the life history of Ibrahim Traore, the youngest president of Burkina Faso. Alright, let's talk about something incredible. You see stories all the time about leaders, right? Usually, they're these old guys in suits, been in politics since before the internet was a thing. But every now and then, history throws a curveball. It gives you a story so wild, so inspiring, you have to stop and say, wait, what? Today, we're talking about one of those stories. We're going to Burkina Faso, a beautiful country in West Africa, to meet a man who is rewriting the rules of what a leader looks like. His name is Ibrahim Traore. At just 34 years old, he became his country's president and the youngest head of state in the entire world. It's a story about a young man from a small town who looked at his country's problems and decided he couldn't just stand by and watch. Now, to understand the man, you have to understand where he comes from. Ibrahim Traore wasn't born into a political dynasty. No silver spoons, no fancy boarding schools in Switzerland. He was born in 1988 in a small town called Bondoukoui. Think of it as the opposite of a bustling metropolis, a place where community is everything and life is straightforward but not always easy. His parents were farmers, people who worked the land with their own hands. This upbringing gave him a perspective that many leaders in high castles simply don't have. He grew up seeing the daily struggles of ordinary people, the challenges of making a living, and the deep desire for security and a better future. He was one of them. This connection to the common person is the foundation of his entire story. When you grow up surrounded by real-world problems, they aren't just statistics on a report, they are your neighbor's worries, your family's struggles. So, you have this smart, quiet kid from a small town. What does he do? He hits the books, hard. Ibrahim Traore was a brilliant student. He moved to Bobo Dioulasso for his education. He excelled and earned his high school diploma. He enrolled at the University of Ouagadougou. He joined the Association of Muslim Students, as a member, as a leader, someone people looked up to. While studying geology, a different calling began to pull at him. He saw growing instability in his country, the rise of extremist groups, a spreading feeling of helplessness. He realized studying the earth wasn't enough. He needed to protect the people on it. In 2009, at 21, he made a life-changing decision. He joined the army of Burkina Faso. It was a commitment, not a casual choice. The military offered a direct path to serve during a growing crisis. He graduated from Georges Namoano Military Academy. As the security situation in Burkina Faso worsened, the military knew it needed something different, a new approach. In 2020, a special forces unit was created, the Cobras. This wasn't your average infantry unit. The Cobras were an elite counterterrorism force, designed to be fast, agile, effective in the complex fight against insurgents. And who was chosen to lead these elite soldiers in the key region of Kaya? None other than Captain Ibrahim Traore. This appointment was a massive vote of confidence in his abilities. At just 32 years old, he was put in charge of one of the country's most critical military assets, tasked with taking the fight directly to the enemy in one of the most dangerous parts of the country. Life in the Cobra unit was a trial by fire. Traore and his men were constantly engaged in high-risk missions. They felt they were being sent on missions with inadequate resources. Leadership in the capital felt disconnected from the front lines. Losses mounted. Frustration spread through the ranks. By September 2022, just 8 months after the first coup, the situation had become untenable. A massive attack on a supply convoy in Gascondé resulted in the deaths of dozens of soldiers, civilians. For Captain Traore and his fellow junior officers, this was the final straw. On September 30th, 2022, the world watched in astonishment. Gunfire erupted in the capital. Soldiers appeared on national television. In the center was Ibrahim Traore.
He announced Damiba had been removed from power. He spoke plainly, as a soldier, not a politician. He said their actions weren't for personal ambition, but for failure to handle the security crisis.
There were days of intense negotiations. Some wanted a more senior officer, but the junior officers were united. They trusted Traore. Reluctantly, Traore accepted, becoming interim president of Burkina Faso. At 34, he became the world's youngest leader. When a 34-year-old soldier becomes president, you get a different kind of politics. President Traore's vision is rooted in one word: sovereignty. He believes his country has been too dependent on foreign powers, particularly France. He demanded the withdrawal of French troops. For him, true security must be built by Burkinabe people. His goal, reclaim territory lost to extremist groups. He launched massive recruitment and a civilian volunteer force, the VDP. Beyond security, he speaks of controlling resources and fighting corruption, audits of mining contracts, and a push for a patriotic, community-focused economy. A pan-Africanist vision echoes leaders like Thomas Sankara. Challenges remain: unelected rule, unconventional methods, and controversial breaks with allies. Concerns about human rights and arming civilians persist. Supporters see decisive action, honesty, and energy challenging a failed status quo. Leadership can come from unexpected places. His journey says our beginnings need not define our destiny. The future is not to be waited for, it is to be built, and the youth are the architects.